For 2 years, my boss stood in front of executives and took credit for work I did alone. I let him do it 17 times because I was waiting for the 18th, the one where he would finally be asked a question only the real author could answer. He had built his entire promotion on my work. He just never stopped to wonder what would happen the day someone asked him to explain. You would have liked Marcus. That's the part that took me longest to make peace with. He wasn't a snarling, obvious villain. He remembered your kids' names. He brought good coffee to the early morning meetings. When you were sick, he told you to go home and really meant it. People genuinely liked working for him, and I did too for a while. That's what made it work. Nobody suspects the warm one. I was a data analyst on his team. Quiet, good at actual work, not great at the room. The kind of a person who does the thing and assumes the thing will speak for itself. I built the models. I found the patterns. I wrote the reports that made our department look like it knew what it was doing. And here's the thing, I need you to understand before the rest of it. I wasn't just chasing a title. My husband had been laid off 8 months earlier. We had a daughter starting school, and we were the kind of broke where you sit at the table on a Sunday deciding which bills can wait until next Friday. The electric or the car payments? Never both. Every night I told myself that if I just kept my head down and did excellent work, someone would notice. And the promotion, the one that meant we'd stop doing that math at midnight, would come. Someone did notice. It just wasn't me they promoted. It started small, the way these things usually do. A report I wrote went up the chain with his name where mine should have been. I told myself it was an oversight. When I brought it up, he smiled like I had caught a typo instead of something that mattered. You are absolutely right, he said. I'll make sure they know it was a team effort. He sounded so sincere that I walked out of his office feeling guilty for bringing it up. But the correction never quite reached anyone who mattered. And the next quarter, it happened again. And this time, it wasn't an oversight. It was a presentation. My analysis, my slides, my 6 weeks of work delivered to the regional VPs by Marcus, who called it something I've been developing. I sat in the third row and watched him take a bow for a race I had ran. Then came the promotion. His senior director announced in an all hands where he thanked the team without a single name and looked right at me while he said it. A small, warm, knowing look. The look said, "We both know, and there's nothing you can do about it." That night, my daughter asked why I was crying at the kitchen table. I told her I was tired. I was, but it wasn't the kind of tired that sleep fixes. I almost quit. I had the email drafted, the resignation, dignified, no accusations, just gone. But we couldn't afford for me to quit. That was the trap. And I later realized Marcus understood the trap better than I did. He knew my husband was out of work. He knew I couldn't slam the door. People who steal credit are very good at reading exactly how much a person can't afford to fight back. So I stayed. I smiled in his meetings. I kept building the models. And somewhere in those low, humiliating weeks, quietly, I stopped thinking like someone who wanted to be noticed and started thinking like someone who wanted to be right at the exact moment it mattered the most. Here's the thing about being the person who does the actual work. You know things the person taking credit doesn't. Marcus couldn't answer questions about the analysis. He never could. For 2 years, he had presented my work and then deflected any real questions. Great question. Let me have my team pull the details and follow up. It always worked because executives are busy and a confident deflection sounds like an answer. One night, I opened every presentation he had ever given. I was not looking for revenge anymore. I think I just needed to know I hadn't imagined the last 2 years. And there it was, a whole graveyard of, let me follow up on that, questions he'd never actually followed up on because he couldn't, because he didn't understand the work well enough to answer. And there was one more thing. Every model I built in the company system with the full version history, every timestamp, every revision, 2 years of a digital record showing to the minute who had actually authored every single thing Marcus had ever claimed. I hadn't kept it as evidence. I was just doing my job. But it was all there. The turn wasn't finding a smoking gun. The turn was realizing I'd been holding one the whole time and that I had been so busy feeling powerless, I had never looked down at my own hands. I didn't confront him. I want to be clear about that because the temptation was enormous. Confronting him would have gotten me exactly nothing. His words, warm and senior, against mine. Instead, I waited for the room. Every year, the company holds a strategy summit. Executives fly in. It's the biggest stage in the building. And it was where Marcus, now the senior director, was going to present the flagship forecast model for the coming year. My model, the most complex thing I had ever built, to the entire executive committee, including the CFO. I did 2 things and hoped for the third. First, I made sure my model was flawless and fully documented, every assumption labeled, every source cited, all of it time-stamped in the system under my name. If anyone ever looked, the record would be clean and undeniable. Second, 2 weeks before the summit, Marcus came to me, warm as ever, and asked me to prep him on the model so he could present it smoothly. I did, and during that prep, he misunderstood one of the model's core assumption, the way he always did. For 2 years, this was the exact moment where I would quietly correct him, smooth it over, fill the gap, make sure he never walked into a room exposed. It's what I did. It's what I had always done. This time, I just didn't. I didn't plant anything. I didn't feed him a wrong number. I simply stopped doing the unpaid work of protecting him from his own understanding. He walked into that room, confident, carrying a mistake I had always caught for him before. Third, and this was the part I couldn't control, but only hope for. The CFO almost always attended the strategy summit, and she had a reputation everyone in the building knew about. She didn't accept deflections. She asked the follow-up, and then she waited for the answer. I couldn't put her in the room. I just knew that if she was there, she would do the one thing no one else ever had. I didn't have to do anything else. I just had to be in the third row again, one more time. Marcus presented like the man he had become, polished, easy, taking his bow. And then the CFO raised her hand. She asked him to walk her through why the core projections behaved the way it did in the downside scenario. It was the exact thing he had gotten subtly wrong. It was the exact kind of question he had deflected 100 times. He tried the deflection. Great question. Let me have the team pull the details and follow up. And the CFO said, quietly, the sentence I will hear in my head for the rest of my life. No, you built this. Walk me through it now. The room went very still. Marcus stood at the front of the biggest stage in the building, in front of every executive who'd ever believed he was brilliant, and he could not answer a single question about the work he had claimed as his own. He fumbled. He contradicted himself. He reached for the assumption he never understood. And the CFO, who understood numbers, watched him fall into it in real time. And then he did something he had not done all morning. He looked back towards our row, towards me. For the first time in 2 years, in front of everyone, he needed me to save him. I looked back at him and I didn't move. I have never heard a silence like that. It went on for a very long time. Nobody helped him. There was no follow-up to hide behind. For 2 years, he had been protected by the fact that busy people don't ask twice. She asked twice. I didn't say a word in that room. I didn't need to. I just watched the thing he spent 2 years building collapse under the one weight it was never designed to hold, an actual question. He left the company within the month, quietly. No all hands, no warm speech. The work finally went back to having my name on it. Because when they went looking for who could actually explain it, the version history had been telling the truth the whole time. I didn't sabotage him. I simply stopped correcting him. That's the thing about building your career on someone else's back. It only works as long as they are willing to carry you. And one morning, in a very quiet room, in front of everyone who mattered, he reached back for me and found I had finally set the weight down. If you are new here, this channel is about the moment good people stop protecting the ones who hurt them. Subscribe and I'll tell you another.